Hi everyone, welcome back to this series of project management key concepts. This one in particular we are looking at is voting. So what is voting? And you'll come across this in your project management career when we're gathering requirements and in other project process group areas as well. But voting is a very common way to get to a decision when a decision is needed to be made. So basically the way it's described in the PMBOK guide is it's a collective decision-making technique. So it's an assessment process. We're able to assess a few different options and see which option we actually want to move forward with. So when we have multiple alternatives, those are our options, with an expected outcome in the form of future actions. In other words, what are we going to do in the future? We need to, if we can't all agree, and sometimes that's totally fine, but there are other ways that we can move forward, and that's what we can use voting for. So these techniques can be used to generate, classify, and prioritize your product requirements in the early days as you're gathering these requirements for your product and your project. So there are a few voting techniques that you'll come across and that you'll see in the PMP exam and the CAPM exam as well. And these might be in the form of scenario questions where we've got unanimity. And this is a decision where it's reached where everybody agrees. So you've got the 100% of people and everyone is happy, everyone agrees that they're going forward. You have unanimity. They're unanimous, so it's 100%. Now, you may not have that in your case, but in the next step down from that is where we have the majority of people. And this is where a decision is reached and more than 50% of the members of the group agree. So instead of 100%, now we have greater than 50%. And that is still, we're able to move forward because that is the majority of people. Now, even then, if you've got a large group of people or maybe there's a lot of different decisions to be made, you may not have the majority. And so the last one is plurality. Plurality, which is actually quite hard to say, 3 times fast. Plurality is a decision that's reached where the largest block in your group decides. So maybe you have 30% of the people agreeing for that particular decision, and then all of the others are 20%, 10%, 5%, another 20%, and whatever else it takes to make up the 100%, but none of those are a large enough block to get to that 30%, which is the largest block, and that's the one that you're able to move forward with. Now, there is a variation of voting, or voting is used throughout many different project life cycles, including the agile, iterative, or incremental life cycles. And one variation that they use is the fist of 5. So this is where the project manager simply asks the team to show their level of support for a decision, which is, decision is your future actions. What are we going to be doing? And holding up a closed fist, which would be no support, or 5 fingers, which would be full support for a particular decision. And the power of doing it this way is that if a team member and anyone has a voice here, and that's probably part of the power of it. But if someone holds up fewer than 3 fingers, then that team member is given the opportunity to discuss their objections with the team. And so that gives them a voice, and maybe they throw out some risks or they show some risks or some ideas that other people have not thought of, and that maybe we need to consider those as a team. And so the project manager can continue that until the team achieves a consensus, or they agree to move on to the next decision because maybe they haven't achieved a consensus, but they have achieved a majority, for example, or a plurality. And that is the idea of voting in your project.